Hello everyone, welcome to the LARP Tales podcast, the award-winning podcast where we tell our stories through live-action roleplay. My name is Oliver, I'm one half of your hosting duo. With me, as always, is my co-host Robyn. Hey Robyn.
Hey Oliver.
And today we're going to be continuing our recap of Menhir's Fate, Year 1, E1, the brand new festival LARP taking the country by storm. This is part 2 of our recap. The last episode, if you haven't checked it out, is up there somewhere. I'll put it up there. Go click on that. We covered what the game is, the nations, what we did on the Thursday and Friday. So this is going to be Saturday of Menhir's Fate E1. Before we get into it though, the usual housekeeping. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you give us a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you're new to the Two Having to Roll universe. Give us the stars if you're listening on an audio platform. That just helps people find us, helps the channel grow in that way. Go check out the Patreon. There are other links down in the description and the show notes for ways to support us if you so wish. And with that all out of the way, let's get into our recap of Menhir's Fate. Okay, so that's a good point. I keep calling it E1, Year 1. Is there a name for the summit?
That's a really good question.
Like, because obviously, like at Empire, we have like the Winter Summit, and then,
It's like the first like gathering in Haven, isn't it? So
yeah, I haven't. Maybe there's like a year or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but anyway, but it's the first event. So like I said in the intro. We covered last episode what we did on the Thursday and Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Friday we got our money from the bank LARP. We were excited about bank LARP, weren't we?
Bank LARP is pretty awesome.
We joined the Adventurers Guild,
Mm-hmm.
and we went and did some bodyguard and stuff. We talked a little bit about the camp attacks as well.
Yeah, we briefly sort of mentioned the camp attacks, as there was camp attacks on the Friday, and we of course did the bodyguarding, but the main camp attack stuff was on the Saturday.
Yeah. So Saturday, where did we pick up on Saturday?
So Saturday, I think we started this event with a member of our order going to a meeting with the bank manager. So within Menhir's, what you can do is you can put forward build opportunities through the bank, where basically you can go in and let's say you want to build a bakery and you want to build a bakery in the Wonder. You can put that forward. They will then price that up for you, and people can go in and they can donate straight to the bank to fund your project, or they can give the funds to you and so on. And I love it because they've also got like tons and tons and tons of pre-written ones out there, so you can go and you can support all sorts of build projects. It's kind of like letting all the players world build this, this LARP together, which I absolutely love. I mean, like I'm hoping that in the future, some of these things that we've funded, there's going to be conjunctions and things or things happening, and we can be like, we were there year 1. We actually funded that bakery that's currently under attack that we're off to help,
I'm sorry, you did this voice last time when you
What?
when you
What
talking
voice?
about, we were there. What do you think you're going to sound like in 10 years time?
I don't know. I don't look after myself very well.
We were there. I'm sorry.
I mean, 10 years time, I'll be in my 40s.
Yeah, you won't sound like that though.
I might. I might sound like that next year.
Yeah.
But so one of our group decided to create this incredible opportunity. They are basically put forward a project for dragging riders. And the bank had come back and gave them the opportunity to fund this in like 3 sort of buildings. Building 1 being the hatchery, so we can have a building for the dragon eggs and so on and so on. So the member of our so on, dragon eggs.
There's only 2 other buildings. And so on.
So the member of our group, who's put this forward, had a meeting, and he got all like dressed up and went for his meeting with the bank manager, and we end up going along and watching this part of this meeting take place.
What were we in the bank for? Well, I think we were just
I
accompanying
can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. But
I can't remember.
they had a lot of the buildings like laid out, the building projects laid out on the table in the bank. I'm not entirely sure whether that's something they're going to do every time, or whether it was just to like kickstart us doing the buildings or not, because they're obviously been written by the bank NPCs.
Yeah,
for plot, you know.
so it was one of the bank PCs in particular, and she'd written all of them, and they were really cool. So there was you could obviously read through them, and it was quite interesting. I like this as just as a way to figure out what do the players want, because there was options of, you know, small fortifications to big mystery towers to businesses, and it really kind of showcased. And what I like is that they were all scattered together. It wasn't that they were separated out depending on which nation you were in, and it kind of almost helped to unify the fact that this is not a PvP thing. We're not there to, you know, be against another particular nation. We're there to work together. If we want to fund something in another nation, we're helping all of us there, really.
Yeah.
There was a few kind of funny ones in there. There was the Valdreath Mystery Tower.
Well, I mean, it could be funny, or it could be like it's just it's just a mystery box. It was just like it was a lot of funding, but it was just basically, it sounded like basically Barad-dûr. It was just like there's going to be a tower that you're building on a mountain, and really powerful stuff will happen. Who knows what it's going to be? So of course, we wanted to fund everyone. Not everyone. Maz's character.
Oh yeah.
Was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to take that and see if I can get that funded. You know,
really well.
Yeah,
really
and their pitch was that, because like literally it was a mystery box. It was like, yeah, like godly or divine. I can't remember the exact wording, but it was just like something divine and powerful will happen. It could be good, could be good, could be bad. And that was kind of all the information. But Maz was like spinning it, you know, trying to sell it to people, trying to get. She was like walking around trying to get it funded, and spinning it like, this is a great, this opportunity. We can do this. We can commune with with our gods, and this, that, the other. I had this great pitch, and I was just like, yeah, that's gonna be hilarious when that's funded.
That's the thing. Like, it was just there was a lot of like reading through them. I was just like, you could almost picture in your own head what these things actually looked like. And yeah, I think I could see why it was so easy to spend so long just in the bank itself. Honestly, there was just so much to do there. So monstering at Menhir's works a little bit different as well, because this is important for this next bit, because this is when we started getting the camp attacks for the Saturday.
Yeah. So because there was, I think a couple of people had asked about monstering in the chat, on the last episode on YouTube. So every nation had a 2-hour monstering slot.
Yeah.
There's no like big battles like there are. So I mean, who knows when it gets to the stage where it's got enough players, they might switch up so we have like a big battle or something.
Yeah.
But currently there's not enough players to, or I don't know whether they ever intended to have big battles. I mean, there probably was enough players to have that, but the big battles, you know, again, going to use Empire as a reference because I've not been to like Curious Pastimes or whatever, but the battles themselves are almost another branch of the game. So like in this game, you had skirmish crew, you had like, you know, your NPC crew, you had the people running the guilds, people running the nations and things like that, so that they're all kind of cogs in the greater wheel. Doing a big battle is another one of those that just takes so much admin. You need someone basically in control of writing the entire battle. So they decided to basically, the nations, when you were monstering, you would just join skirmish crew.
Yeah.
So it would then be, you know, and obviously because the nations had different sizes as well. I think we monstered late on the.
Yeah, we were the last monster slot on the Saturday.
On the Saturday, so you could tell by which order we were going in monstering. They were ramping up, and that's something that didn't surprise me with especially with like the Eversley lot running plot and things like that, because in those games they run at Eversley, they like to ramp the danger up or the perceived danger, don't they, and peril, like as the Saturday goes on in those games. So it didn't surprise me that we were having smaller attacks, smaller things were going on, and I was like, oh well, where we are last on the Saturday evening, so it didn't surprise me since we are the biggest nation.
Yeah.
That's going to be quite a big and scary attack.
Exactly. I mean, like we say smaller things, but it got a bit deadly quite early on the Saturday for us.
Yeah.
Well, for you anyway. Because
Oh,
we
yeah.
were so each like Oliver said, each nation you get your 2 hour slot. In that slot, you're with Skirmish Crew and you could be doing a number of different things. The Adventurers Guild are sending groups out all the time. So you could be doing something which is a bit smaller, maybe out in the woods. You could be getting used as a camp attack. You might be doing a mixture of a couple of different things. This is just from what I've heard from other groups that were going out. Some groups were like, oh, we got to go and we got to be part of this skirmish and we were helping this nation how to go and do this. So we were part of the people they had to face. We had to go and do some like role play. So there was a lot of different things, which I do really like because they do encourage everyone to take part in this monster slot. So with that information, I do think that you could probably go out to these monster slots and say like, I'm not like here to fight.
I think that was the rules.
Yeah.
I think that it was like they made it very clear that monstering is not fighting. Whereas like you're bringing an empire again. If you monster, you are fight. You are fight. Even if you're like a if you want to be like a healer without a sword, like you're still in danger from the fight. So I think they made it quite clear that they also made it clear that they expect you to monster during the weekend. But they made it clear that, hey, like if your monster slot is at 8 p.m. like ours was, and you're doing something at 8 p.m. in the game, just go along with another nation and just monster at a different slot,
Yeah.
And they basically trialed it as a trust-based system of like everyone should monster. We're not going to enforce monstering because they can't. I mean, they can't even Empire, but like they obviously give us a slap on the wrist if there's not. They'll. I think I can remember once at Empire where they were like, "Oh yeah, we're flagging that this nation was really good at showing up to monster. These nations have not been doing a very good job." But you literally can't police it and force people to do it, I guess. But so that they just went at some point in the weekend you should monster, but that's ideally you're going to go with your own nation. Basically.
So if you can't go with your own nation, what you need to do is speak to your nation support. The nation support will then let Skirmish Crew know and make sure they're aware. That happened a couple of times where we had people that couldn't go out on a specific one. A nation support would just, if they've got radio, we're just radioing over to Skirmish Crew to say, hey, I've got a group of 5 people in Valdreath. They cannot make that monster slot. They would like to join in with the 12 p.m. monster slot, and they make these things work out. It's just that, open communication so that they can plan accordingly, especially if it gets to like that last monster slot of the day. If they're aware that there's going to be fewer people turning up, they can plan for that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter so much at this stage. I think if we got more people and there is say there's a big thing going out, like a big event, if there's a conflict in a schedule of a certain nation where a lot of that nation wants to go on a certain thing at a certain time to do a certain ritual or something, but that's also their monster slot, and they're like, oh, we just won't go to that, but it just so happens to be 40 to 50 people in that nation. Yeah. It's probably not a problem they're going to have for a while, but at the moment, it's like if 1 or 2 people don't show up for their monster slot, it's not going to make that much of a difference, really. So not in the
unless you're in the Wonder.
Unless you're in the one, but that's the thing. The Wonder, I'm pretty sure when the Wonder went to monster, you're only adding an extra like 3 people to Skirmish Crew. So, and I think actually at one point, I think we were told that a couple of nations did extra monstering.
The Wonder did extra monstering.
I think the Wonder and Kairos.
Was it Kairos? I thought it was Avaro?
No, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure Kairos did it as well, because I remember them saying, "Oh yeah, they did us a solid."
Yeah.
Or I think it was actually for the one. I think it might have been for the Wonder. Anyway, so a couple of nations did change their schedule a bit so they could add. They could give other nations their encounters because they needed extra monsters. So I mean that seems to be it seemed to work fine, didn't it?
It worked fine. It
Yeah.
was really cool because there was constant things happening. So the camp attacks, the way that it worked is that it's a big open site. And when we were first there, we were like, well, we're going to be able to see them coming a mile off. Yeah, we couldn't. The special effects team did such a good job. We got the pre-warning, so our nation support, you know, could feel something, you know, so we'd be prepared that something was coming. When they used their big smoke machines and everything, it wasn't clear as to which direction people were heading. If you're sitting in your camp and you don't want to be involved in the fighting, you do not have to. No one is going to come into your actual like tent, or if you're sitting down having something to eat, no one's going to come and grab you from there.
Yeah.
They pretty much pulled us out of our camps into main areas. So they kind of encouraged us to run to them. So,
Which
yeah.
did need some, we'll talk about it when we talk about our monstering slot.
Yeah.
That needs a little bit of workshopping. So there is actually a line in the camp where the monsters aren't supposed to go into. So what they call it, like the accessibility area or something. There's basically an invisible line where when we actually went to monster, it was like, oh yeah, don't go past that line. I'll touch on it now anyway, but basically, yeah, we want to encourage, because there was so much room outside the camp. There was just acres and acres of just nothing outside of the main camp. So we could do all the fighting outside of our camp. We didn't need to be fighting within the tents. The trouble is that that's where safety is for a lot of the people, and then people started to use the tents tactically, defensively. So the monsters were being told, I'll just say it, like when we were monstering, there was lots of us and we were going to attack the camp, and there was a point where they were like, don't go past this point because that's into the accessibility area. But then the players were just stood behind the line and we couldn't get to them, so they were kind of using it. They need to work that bit out a little bit.
Yeah, because like the IC reasoning is you need to run out of your camp area because you're going to stop the corrupted from getting into your camp, and that's the sort of the reason as to why you would run out from safety, if you like, because you're trying to protect all the people that are unable to come out. You're trying to protect your homes and everything else that's there. Like that's the kind of reasoning as to that's your motivation for wanting to run out from your tent to go and fight.
Yeah. So what they do with those baddies, maybe there's some reason, maybe there could be some mechanical reason why you have to come to them or something to fix that. I don't know. But so I'm pretty sure then the next one would have been like the attack on Kairos, where I had an issue. So I think we talked last time about like, oh, the bigger nations, because you're more out into the field, like how are you going to stop just the bigger nations from just getting rid of the threat before they come anywhere near camp, especially in the earlier part of the day where Valdreath and Cyrodinia on that like one side, we were like, there was only Kairos in between us. So, and obviously it's early in the day and we're both in camp, and the skirmish crew are coming towards us. So they did, I think we had an attack on Valdreath, and then I think what we ended up doing was, I don't know whether the nation support like maybe said something to us, but I feel like there was a point where we all said, oh yeah, let's organize ourselves this way, because we understood that like Kairos weren't getting a fight. So they were basically, Kairos was in between Valdreath and Cyrodinia, so it was like a fork like that, you know, going out, and then Kairos were all like lined up in their phalanx, which looked badass, but then obviously,
so cool.
Yeah, it was like, well, they're going to need a fight. So then it was quite clear that they were coming for Kairos. So we all just like kind of lined up outside our camps, like us and Cyrodinia, and just waited for them to like charge into.
Yeah, it
Kairos.
almost turned into a bottleneck of like and it caused all of the monsters to like charge in, and like you said, like Kairos, they had all their shields up and they had this like incredible, and they just like powered right through them. It was amazing. And then once more skirmish teams started coming out, because they were a little bit spread at the top, which drew some of the bigger nations out, then it turned into like a big thing where they were chucking out a lot of big hits, a lot of crushes. At the point where I was like, this is a difficult one. How did you do, Oliver?
Well, so yeah, I was like, as soon as we were like, well, we're gonna do like a hammer and anvil tactic with Kairos. So as soon as they, hit the wave of Kairos, then Cyrodinia came from the other side of us, and I was like, right, cool, we can be the hammer now. So I charged in, full pelt, and I just got this same old story with this game. I just got crushed instantly. So I'm like, "Ah!" And yeah, someone just goes crush, and I kind of role play, go flying back, and then Matt, who's on crew for Cyrodinia National Sport, just comes legging it over to me giddily, and is like, here you go, and like looked through all of his cards of traumatic wounds. Where's the worst traumatic wound, and gave it to me.
There you go, 10 minutes, good luck.
So yeah, this is fun. So I'm instantly so I get healed. I get healed, and then so I'm back up to my regular hit points. But my traumatic wound says, "Oh, you're really struggling to breathe. Your lungs feel like they're on fire, right? So, and it will get worse and worse. Basically, if it doesn't get treated, I would then go into another status effect, which I can't remember what it actually the name of it was, but it didn't sound good. It didn't say death, but it also didn't sound. It
wasn't a good thing to have.
Yeah. It didn't sound it anyway. So I was like, okay.
You got angrier as well, didn't you? You got like, because that's how
right, yeah.
I realized, like, in character something was going on, because
Yeah.
the wave of fighting stopped.
Yeah.
They went away and, ready to hit the camp again. And that time you went from being this, like,
happy-go-lucky
himbo, let's go and save the day, to, oh, I'm just so angry, I'm going to kill them all. And I was like, oh, that's not like you.
Yeah. So we got another physic. Are they called physics in this game? Still physic, right?
I think we still keep with the terminology of physic.
Yeah.
That was one thing that was a bit confusing, is the calls. There was quite a few people shouting medic, which
that's a new LARP thing.
That is a brand new thing. Yeah. So in LARP, normally you would like call for like physic,
healer,
doctor, wizard, whatever. But a medic tends to be the universal OC. If you're shouting for a medic, or first aid, I guess, as well, your OC heart, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, there was a couple of shouts of medic that you had to kind of double check and be like, all right, okay.
Oh yeah, I freaked out at one point because somebody was shouting. There was I mean, we're kind of jumping about a little bit, but just while we're on the topic, there was later on at night on the Saturday, there was like a load of smoke, but it didn't. It smelled like real smoke from something that was burning, and there was a lot of it. And we were a bit worried and went, is that special effects, or is somebody set their tent on fire? And then we heard screams for medic, and then we just went running down, like, oh my God, something's happened.
Yeah, there was people going help, and then medic.
It was fine. It was fine.
It was just a smoke machine. Yeah, because as we were walking, I was like, no, it smells sweet. It's not. I don't think it's proper smoke. But it was that much smoke. We were like, is someone's tent actually on fire?
It was the second that there was the screams and the medic call, and we were just like, okay, someone's heart. Let's run and see what we can do.
Yeah, obviously that's always like the fear, isn't it, of like, someone's tent being on fire or something like that. But yeah, so I found found another healer, gave them the card, and they were like, oh, I get a new game as well. It's like, so that there's not an instant like, oh yeah, you definitely need this and this. So what I needed was a healer to keep me stabilized, but I needed a healer to treat me along with either a fire weaver or a water weaver. So
hey, new players, if you're looking for something to be,
fire and water weavers, so I didn't read up a lot about the magic, but apparently the fire weavers, it just something like a fire weaver, I would have thought, oh, that's something that a lot of people are going to pick, but apparently the fire weaving doesn't do what you kind of think it does. I think it's more about quelling fire than like creating fire. So obviously the battle's still going on, and I do not have a lot of time. I think actually, I think it might have been 15 minutes or something like that. It was something crazy like that. It wasn't long.
I had 10 minutes in my head. I'm sure mine said 10 minutes. I'm sure yours said 10 minutes. I'm sure we had 10 minutes.
Oh, no, it was 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was 10 minutes.
Because I was...
But it took an hour to... So basically, luckily, I'm pretty sure... So the fact that the healer had to stay with me to stabilize me because we couldn't find a weaver. So we then end up going around, and I'm like role-playing, like dying, basically. I'm like, I've not got long. So we're then start walking around camp, going fire weaver, water weaver, and obviously everyone's run off to the battle, so there's no one in Valdreath, there's no one in Kairos, there's no one in Cyrodinia. So we're like, right, we'll go down to the Menhir to see if there'll be surely be weavers down at the Menhir. Now this is the point where I said last episode you couldn't tell there was new LARPers because the kit standards were so high. This was the moment where you're like, oh, there are a lot of new LARPers because I'm like role playing. I'm like I'm properly trying to sell it that I cannot breathe and I need help. And the healer's with me. He's like, we need a fire weaver, a water weaver to help. This person is dying. There's something in his lungs that we need to extract. And we were going up to people like, oh, you a fire weaver, a water weaver? And like, oh, no. Anyway, have you heard about, do you want to buy some? And they're just like, they just tried to, and I'm like going, I'm dying.
And then like, while you were down there, because there was another healer involved in this, another healer found me and went, I found a fire weaver. And I was like, excellent. But where is he? I don't know. I've been fighting. Yeah. I ran back into fight. Well, so we came back and we couldn't find you. No. And the fire weaver had to go and help in the fight, and that's when you appeared back again.
Yeah, so I think yes, because we were asking around. It's one of these moments where, you're asking people, but you've got to when those situations arise. Like if the people aren't, if a role player doesn't want to just jump on the role play, just move on to another role player because there were people going, oh, I'm a fire weaver, and they wanted to go to. I'm like. If they want to go off and fight and not help me, they need to go off and do their thing. We'll find someone who can, but we could not find fire or water weavers in the entirety of Haven, and I am like dying. Like it's bad. Again, luckily I was being stabilized. So it got to the point where I was like, you know what? Let's stop walking around, and I'll stay in camp while other people try and find a fire or water, because that's what was happening. Is that. Every time you came running, like, I found a fire weaver. Where are they? Oh, there. And then they were gone. So I was like, how about I stay at camp?
Yeah, it was easy.
And you go find a fire or water weaver. So you go running. So you go running off.
I ran. And as I was running, I was just shouting, fire, water weaver, fire. We've got lots of oracles, by the way. And I know where they all camp now.
Yeah, oracles. I mean, we could fill an entirety of Haven up with oracles.
And I found them all.
Oracle weaving seems to be very popular.
So... ran in there, I was getting nothing. I ran to the Menhir, nothing. And then someone went, oh, I think there's a group in Avro. And I was like, okay. Ran over there and I found a group. I found a full family. And I was like...
Do you want me to tell this next part?
Do you want to tell next? Well, my part is I speak to this woman and I'm chatting to her. And I was like, I need someone now. And they went, yeah, we'll catch up with you. You run, we'll follow. And I went, okay, I'm going to run to make sure that you're, and I'm running, and as I'm running to you, and I'm like, I found someone.
Yeah, like our camp is like up at the top, like middle to top end of Valdreath, and I'm like dying with the my role play is supposed to be I'm getting agitated as well, so I'm like how long does it take to find someone? Come on, and then it's like, oh, here she comes, and I see. Artoria like running like you have a proper serious look on your face, and there is this like small child, cute, adorable, right? Adorable.
She looked about 3.
Adorable in amazing kit, and just like toddling behind. I'm just like, okay. You're like, I found a healer, and I'm like, okay.
You were like, are they really far away?
Are they? I said that to the healer. I was like, I'm hoping that Weaver is just really far away. No, it's a small child. all in roleplay. Obviously, it was fun. It was a funny moment.
just
It was
so cute.
a funny moment in roleplay.
It ended up being like a full family. So there was 2 kids. There was a little girl looked about maybe 3, a little boy looked about maybe 9 or 10.
That was so funny.
And they were like the fastest of their family group. So it was
Yeah.
just, that's why they got there so quickly. And they were going for it. They were full serious. We need to save this person. You want someone to care? I found them.
Yeah, no, you did. You definitely found. You definitely found they were water weavers, right?
Fire
weavers, right? They were fire weavers. Yeah, because I think the idea was I needed a fire. So I think, from what I remember, I did have a glance at the healer side of the card after the fact. So I think the idea was that my lungs were full of like corrupted smoke, or corrupted something. So the idea was because it was burning, the healer needed to make it like an incision, and either the fire or the water weaver were there to basically magically extract this stuff from my lungs, basically. So, yeah,
the roleplay was amazing though.
Yeah,
like,
the
the
roleplay was
entire
fun, yeah.
family group. So what they did is they kind of all like held you down, including the kids. They all held you down and they performed surgery. And this was like, there was a lot. This was like you said earlier as well, when you said, you know, if you're running around and you're saying, hey, we need this person, and if people are not responding, find the people that really want that type of game, because this entire group were like, they were ready.
They're
they
sitting
had
waiting for that game.
Literally, and there was a lot of really cool role play, and then we end up having role play with this particular family group a couple of times after that over the day, which was really great.
yeah. So I got saved. Got saved, and so I know the gaps in the game. Fire and water weavers, so you need some more of them.
So there was a little bit of a gap after that attack, not long, but there was a little bit of a gap where we kind of went and recouped a bit. We ended up seeing our friend in the Adventurers Guild, and we end up hearing about a skirmish that was going to go out later on that day to help us patrol.
Yeah, that was a lot later though.
That was at 6, but we heard about it quite early.
Yeah.
And then while we were hearing about this, this is when we heard screams and shouts coming from Avro. And that's when I remember running, like we must have been like quite a distance from them at this point. But it was like, people were like, it's Avro is under attack. And I was like, they just saved us. I'm going to run and help Avro. And I went,
they're our best friends now.
Bolting across.
Yeah.
Taking down a load of them. I got to like do a really cool thing where I ran in, and there was somebody in skirmish crew who I know does a lot of Eversley events, and he's really, really good fighter, and he was in there and he was doing this big sort of like, he had a lot of like mass repels and everything. And he was doing a lot of stagger. Sorry, I even like kind of tried to correct it in my head.
There was a lot of because a lot of people are Empire players, and I'm not entirely sure whether some of the Curious Pastimes or whatever stuff is similar, maybe as well. I don't know. I've not read the rules, but there was quite clearly some crossover where people in the moment were saying mass repel, and we kind of knew what they meant. They meant mass stagger. Yeah, it's a similar thing. Yeah.
So there was like, he was doing that, and I ran in, and it was like getting a bit hairy, and I got to like go running in, and I kind of like slid as I came in and just went crush on the back. That was good fun. And then at the end of this, I was like, I'm gonna loot someone. I never loot. Like I've never looted anyone. I was like, maybe I'm gonna loot people because people find things. I'm gonna try this, okay? So I did this whole thing where I was like hovering my hands over, and I was like, I am searching your pockets, I'm checking in your boots, I'm doing all this, you know, just kind of like, and I did like a full 30 seconds, like just being out, like really like, you know, clear. And then they opened up their pouch, and I was like, oh my God, I've got something. This never happened. Gave me a wound card.
It's like, here you go, here's your reward.
Give me a traumatic wound. I was like, are you kidding me? I struggled so much to keep it card. I was like almost crying laughing.
That's like I think I said this at the time. I was like, that's like the in-world equivalent of searching someone and finding a mousetrap in their pocket or something like that.
Essentially what happened. I remember being like, oh, thanks.
Great.
Try not to cry. It was the same wound you had.
Yeah.
So I started the role play. The second I started the role play, you realize what it was.
Yeah.
And we're walking, and the same family group were like, "Thank you so much for coming to help us." And you're like, I think we might need you
Yeah, we
again.
need you like right now. Yeah. And so they did the same thing for you, didn't they?
Well,
Yeah.
at this point, it was an hour or so later, and at this point, they had obviously done a couple things, and they turned to the kids and went, "Right, you watched it last time." To the little girl, you watched this last time. Do you want to try it this time and everything? And I was like, "Yeah, go for it," and everything, trying to really curse this. So I had this little kid, and I'm like, really making sure my role play is correct here. I'm like, I'm meant to be like really angry and like in a lot of pain. I'm not gonna shout around a 3-year-old. It was a lot of fun. And then the little boy was just like getting to me because he was talking about the warrior and everything, and he was like,
Oh,
"Yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna be like a knight of the warrior," and I'm like, "Yes, you
Yeah. 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 No, it was, so yeah, there was several hours of role play, wasn't there? So the Adventurers Guild, all the members of the Adventurers Guild there was a mission to go and help this troll. I think it was the same troll that had came into the camp on the Friday night, late Friday night.
I think so. Yeah, a lot of people already knew Ugg the troll.
Yeah, so
He was just
a troll called
adorable.
Ugg. That was just like,
And like he'd been like kicked out of his home. So like the Fallen had like taken over this area, and we needed to get his home back. And we were all on board for getting his home back.
yeah, yeah. So there was a lot of members of the Adventurers Guild. You know, I kind of feel like, obviously a lot of people, and they needed a lot of people on that skirmish or adventure or quest or whatever. But I feel like with the I think what might have been good for the guilds, I think they were all under a lot of pressure, is that if they maybe went, okay, you can only join one of the guilds. Because what I heard was a lot of people just joined the Court of
Yeah.
Daggers, the Treasure Hunters Guild, and the Adventurers Guild.
Yeah, because like I heard it is one of them. People can let me know in the comments. It might have been the Quarter Draggers, but there was one of them where they literally had these like puzzles and things to solve, and people were telling me the puzzles, and I'm like, oh, that's like it was basically like they had to like decode different messages that had
I mean,
come through.
that sounds like Treasure Hunters Guild, yeah.
It just sounds like my thing.
Mm.
Like I totally would like love that kind
You
of
could have
stuff.
joined it, yeah.
I know. I think I might do that too. I might go and join that one because I want to kind of get in on that because I like solving them, but I also like writing them because
Yeah.
I've written a lot of things like that and I like anything like that. So
Yeah.
that would be quite cool.
The
But yeah.
guilds are a very good idea, but I just feel like they were, so first event, they were already under pressure for giving enough people enough stuff to do. So obviously I think they need more NPCs in the guilds, which was just something that people were saying anyway, and just being like, oh yeah, obviously it's just we could do with more crew, which they have been doing it so on their Discord and all over their socials and emails and things like that. Menhir's Fate have been saying we need crew. We're recruiting crew in every aspect of the game. I think. So.
Yeah, like so they did feedback forms and everything for crew and players, and they have taken everything on board and they've made quite a lot of changes already. But one of their big things is so like if you're like literally listening and you're like, oh my gosh, banking, I love it, I love everything that's happening there. And it's Oliver. It's so good. You need to live Bank LARP. Seriously, it is just so good. But if you are listening to any of these things and you're like, I'd quite like to go in NPC or crew or be part of that, then get in touch with them.
I think so. Obviously, crew. I think it's you don't have to pay for tickets, but if you want to do traffic stuff as well on Thursday and Friday, I think they've got a discount ticket as well.
Oh yeah, if you want to come and just like literally help with the logistics of getting cars on and off of the field, helping with that type of thing. If you're someone who's got a bit of experience there, or just somebody quite like coming for a bit of a discounted ticket, then yeah.
So along with adding to NPC, I feel that there must be some way, because if the game gets a lot bigger as well, that's still going to be a problem, I guess. So having, I don't know, you obviously don't want to limit people to be like, right, it's only one guild, maybe only one guild per event, and then you can only do one quest from each, or maybe it's only like a finite amount of quests among the guilds or something like that. I just feel like sometimes there was people showing up and being like, I need something to do, and there wasn't quite anything there yet, you know.
It's difficult though, isn't it? Because it's like a new game. You don't want to like limit people with what they can and can't do. And we also got a little passport that you get like stamped if you go out on
It's a
a
good
quest.
idea. Like I like the idea of the guilds. It's not a case of going, oh yeah, it just didn't work. Like there's definitely something there. It worked. Like people were enjoying what they were doing for the guilds.
Do you know what I think could work actually? So this is more on the adventurous guild because that's what we did stuff with, you know, what could work. And literally one of the NPCs there literally did a little like mini tourney while we were there, because they've got like a little mini tourney square sitting there.
Oh yeah.
If they maybe had something that was a bit more regular, like I don't know, on, you know, every second hour of the day or on the hour every hour, there is, you know, an opportunity to come in and, you know, try your strength or try your steel or something in there. That way there'd always be something on to kind of go in and do that, but you could only do one per, you could only actually physically enter one per day or something.
It's difficult because
like
obviously then you just need an
leaderboard
NPC running tournaments all day long, and I guess it's an extra thing, whereas that NPC could then be giving people stuff to do. Who knows? Hopefully they'll figure out. Anyway, the troll whose name I've completely forgot. Ugg. There we go.
You forgot about Ugg? Who could forget about Ugg?
Ugg.
Everyone knows about Ugg.
Everyone knows Ugg.
Yeah, so we end up going
up
with with a huge group to go and help Ugg. Whoever the NPC is who was playing Ugg, I've got no idea who was in that suit. You did a beautiful job because you managed to get so much personality through.
Yeah, the troll suit was pretty cool. So I think they'd got a few of the. I was told they got a few of the monster costumes from different LARPs as well. I think like there's a Witcher LARP that they had borrowed suits from and things like that. So they had some cool monster stuff there. The troll suit was really cool, wasn't it? We fought up at the top field, a big fight, wasn't it? So quite clearly there was more players going on these quests than there were skirmish crew. So the basic thing they kept doing was just respawning, right? They're just like we're just doing like waves of enemies.
Yeah, so there's like, if you picture it, we're out on an open field, and at one side of the field there's a set of woods, and they were using, and it kind of went down a banking, so they were using this as a perfect area to be able to respawn. It gave you the feeling that there was like, you know, countless enemies coming up. Really, skirmish crew, you did so well.
Yeah, I don't, because they must have been doing this all weekend long, like time after. They must have been fighting for like 2.5 days straight.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
So we went there. We had a big fight. It did last quite a while. There was so when we realized that a lot of them could like regenerate and things like that as well, which was quite fun. You went down at one point, and this was adorable because Ugg wanted to make sure you were okay.
Yeah, so I got crushed as you do. I got crushed. I got dragged into the center of our little fighting party, adventuring party, the Adventurers Guild fighting mob. Got brought into the center, and I'm being healed from my crush, and I'm like, and then the troll like comes over me. It's like, are you okay? Like that. I was like, yeah, I think I'll be okay. Yeah. So it was
so cute because he was like put his like big troll hand down to make sure you were okay.
Oh, okay.
It was just wonderful. Who was the troll? Can someone tell me who the troll was?
I know who when we were fighting trolls on the Sunday. I know who was in the troll suit on the Sunday, but it could have been a different person.
Maybe. Yeah, so we managed to get Uggs home back. He was all good.
Yeah.
We got a little bit of role play at the end. There was a thing going around that trolls like shiny things or shiny rocks and things. So some people did actually have little offerings to give him as well at the end, which was quite cute.
Yeah. It was quite funny though. Like people were someone was like, "Can I have your autograph, hug?" and things like that. People were obsessed with this troll. It's so
Do
funny.
you know what? The autograph thing, by the way, I saw a lot of people going up to different like NPCs and different gods and asking them to sign something.
Yeah.
It was just like something people were like collecting, like, and I might have missed this.
I don't know.
completely.
I don't know how I feel about that though, because it becomes a little bit theme parky then.
Mm.
Otherwise, I mean, I guess it's fine, but yeah. So that was that was also the fight. So this was our first big fight. Like it
Yeah,
felt like an actual like, oh, we could die. Here it was quite hard going, wasn't it?
it was. It
Um,
was. Yeah, there was definitely a few times I was like, this might actually take me out,
Yeah.
and then just in the nick of time.
yeah.
Oh, actually, this is the fight where I first came across my new friend. So somebody was playing pretty much a bard.
Yeah. Pretty much bard.
They
A
were a
bard.
bard.
A bard. A
They
D&D
were
bard.
amazing. So literally, they were playing an instrument. They were behind me, and it was at the start. And I just had this sort of feeling where it was like that sort of, oh, I've not been in a big battle in quite a long time. So I'd be running towards. And I was like, right, okay, let's do this. And they came to my shoulder and they were like, started singing away, being like, come on, you could do it, be a hero. And then everything, I was like, yeah, I'm a hero. I can do this. And I went running over and I fought and I hit something. He was like, watch out for the hammer. And I'm like, the person I'm fighting doesn't have a hammer. Oh, and they did this for like a good chunk of the fight. And they were just following me around and like singing different bits. It was bardic inspiration in the moment. It was beautiful. I would like this in every single art, please.
It
That
was,
bardic
yeah.
inspiration, it actually helped. I got a lot of really fun role play with this player. If you are listening, you did mention that you end up kind of following certain people because you're able to kind of tell that bit of a story as you go. You can follow me around and sing inspirational things as much as you like.
Yeah, well,
that was great.
that shows you can literally be a D&D bard and it actually works. You
A
know?
D&D bard works.
Yeah.
Do it. More
Yeah,
people need to do it. It was
yeah.
amazing.
I'm not entirely sure what the rules are. I'm assuming the rules. There must be rules in the wiki, but I know that for some of the Eversley games, or all of them, I know the rules change every now and again. But I think the most recently Eversley games we did, we were told that musicians, if you're a musician, then you won't be attacked. You know, like people are like the NPC crew aren't going to be like, oh, get that one. But also, if you're a musician, not a fighter. So you can't like play an instrument, go like, I'm safe, I'm mechanically safe, and then pull out a dagger and start fighting. You're either playing an instrument or you're not. So I'm assuming it's the same rules for
I'm
Menhirs.
making that same assumption just because I did see a couple of musicians and it did work out really, really well. It was quite cool.
Yeah. So we got crushed numerous times. I also discovered that stagger for me wasn't that great. So because I took stagger, and it's only 3 steps in a certain direction. So my issue with stagger, talking of being a bit kind of rulesy here, my issue with stagger was that it didn't really do what I wanted it to do. So there was times where I was like, oh, I can use it to get them away from it. It doesn't actually push people too far away from you. I can only use it on one target. But what I wanted to do with it was basically like flank people and stagger them into my allies, which didn't really work because the people that I was staggering, they were taking 3 steps into safety, not in away from me, if you like. Which I don't blame the people because that's kind of instinctual. So if someone's like stagger, you're not going to just. People were just going, oh, and they would just like go where there was a space, not into my outlet. Because what I wanted to do was be like, oh, stagger, and then they would
like flank them and like use it as like a tactical.
and push them into like as in like push them closer to my allies so they could get them. That wasn't working at all throughout the weekend. So at that point, I had I think 2 valor, 2 vigor points.
Okay.
And then you could use your little ability if you took the vigor to get them back.
Yeah, you kind of like psych yourself up. I think it's at 30 seconds of appropriate role play to kind of like psych yourself up for that next fight where you can gain 2 back.
So without any kind of extra thing to bring them back, I could technically use 4 vigor points a day. So in that skirmish there, I was like, I used stagger once, and I was just like, this ain't working. And then I really need, because I had the I've seen worse, which is basically you go down and say, I've seen worse, get up, so you can take someone who's from 0 back up to 3.
Yeah, that's
3,
right.
2, yeah.
Back up to 3, I think.
Again, this is the Empire.
Yeah, I'm
brain muddling.
sure it's 3,
Yeah.
and it's somebody who's on 0. So, for example, if somebody's on 1, you can't give them an additional 3.
So
that's a different skill.
that was my favorite skill, because it was very
I think I might
defendery.
take it.
It was really good, because we got to play our continue playing our Space Marine thing. I know you haven't played the game, but it's hilarious because it's like playing Space Marine. You know, when the other Space Marine goes down, you go there and you have to hold the button for like several seconds and then get them up. So it was a bit like that. I kept seeing you two go down, and I was like, I've seen worse, brother. I've seen worse, sister.
That's the thing, though. It worked out quite well as all having our different specialties. I'm literally saying,
it was just bad when I went down. I couldn't get anyone up.
I'm literally saying, maybe I should take that, but really, maybe I should just continue taking the really. I'm there as there as the warrior. Maybe I should just keep taking the constant, Crush is great. I recommend taking Crush. It's worth the points.
Well, that's why I took what I took, because I thought they were just more thematic. And the reason I took Stagger's not amazing on paper anyway. But I had 1 extra experience point to spend. I was like, I may as well just take.
And if you're there as a guardian, you're shielding someone on the ground, someone comes over to stagger them away is quite.
That was the idea. It just didn't work out the way I wanted it to. So, but so I don't like stagger. Mass stagger, that's really cool though.
That is cool, especially like I said, the member of skirmish team that kept doing that. They timed it perfectly, so they were surrounded, and to have that full circle open up around them, that was really cool.
Yeah, so I think I might switch out stagger if they'll let me, and take and maybe take something else.
Yeah, that would be good actually.
Yeah. So we got his home back. Should we talk more fighting now? I guess it's going to be all fighting now until the finale, right? There wasn't anything
until our monster slot anyway. Yeah.
We were just like foam sword monkeys, weren't we? This event we just as well, because I don't really do that much fighting at Empire anymore. That this game was just I was just like, I just want to be a fighty character that's going to be just completely martial and just run off to do everything, which is really fun. But also it means that most of the stuff we're going to talk about is one thing I didn't mention. One cool thing that happened in the morning was that one of our weavers organized a national blessing.
Oh my god, this was incredible actually. This was so they'd organized this, and they've been working on this from the night previously, where they were gathering stories, and the stories had to cover different aspects, didn't they? And they were putting this together, and they were going to go to the Menhir, and they were going to present this. But outside of it, they were doing this huge, big speech. The fact that, we're there as Valdreath, and we stand there and we do not run.
So we were doing an oath. We were doing an oath. It was like, so we did a national oath, and we were like, the weaver was like, do you promise to protect Valdreath from any threat? And then this horn sounded, and right behind us, because we were basically outside the Menhir tent, right behind us at Erdreven, were just being attacked, and we were just like, and the weaver was like, go! we ran in the middle of our oath. We ran off to
it was
protect.
Quite funny. Halfway through our oath, all of us just go run off to fight.
That was quite.
We came back.
Yeah, we came back. But that was quite funny. But that was a cool moment.
That was really cool, actually.
I thought I just mentioned that. So the player of that organised that, and the subsequent people that did all the oath stuff.
Yeah, you did a really good job.
That type of thing is, I think, in the spirit of this game in particular. The whole we're all in it together. Let's do a cool thing for the nation. It seems to be what's the word, proliferating through into the game anyway. That sense, even Owl's idea with the dragons thing. The idea is that it's not his thing or the group's thing. It's like the nation's thing, and also the broader games thing. It's just like, we're all a part of this. This is going to bring one, in character. It's going to bring all this. We're going to have dragons, and it's going to be cool. We're all going to, but also it brings game for everybody. That I think what everyone was doing was similar. Everything was done to bring more gain
Yeah,
to
everything
everybody
was like,
else.
if I do this thing, it's going to create more things for
Mm.
other people. And that's what everybody, yeah, like you said, everyone kind of had that mentality, which was really, really quite refreshing, actually.
Yeah. In fact, actually, I'll segue this in by saying there's also a theme of so there's like an anti-capitalism style of storytelling that's, I think it's supposed to be similar to, Tolkien-esque, don't, dragon sickness, don't like hoarding of gold and things like that. There's more important things than hoarding of gold, because the main antagonists, like the Fallen for this event anyway, their whole thing, and we'll start talking about
Yeah.
our monstering thing where we got to be the Fallen. So that their thing is like hoarding something and keeping it
Yeah.
and keeping it close. And so I think the idea is that it's they want the player characters to be sharing everything, sharing the wealth. Everything seems to be built, especially with the bank and things like that. Putting, you get rewarded if you put money back into the bank. You get rewarded if you give money to something else, someone calls. One of the good things about that as well, unlike a game like Empire, it probably changed because Empire's been going a long time. But we all had, especially those of us who chose money as our resource, I had a lot of money that there was nothing really to spend it on in a good way, because the stuff to spend it on were things like the builds,
Mm.
or donating it to someone who was doing a cool thing. Like if I gave away my coin, I wasn't like, oh no, I can't afford my magic weapon or whatever for
Because it
such and
was
such.
nothing was done in the sense of it's for you, it's everything you put out was for
Yeah.
everyone. And it did take a little while for that to sink in. I think for a
Yeah.
lot of us that are used to a system where you kind of are almost encouraged to kind of hoard it in a sense, because otherwise you can't do as
Yeah.
much.
I'm
In this
surprised anyway, because
system,
it's
yeah.
really difficult to try and get like a table. Like I've discovered this as well. Like if you have a setting, so that game I ran a few years ago in the Middle Earth setting, that's
Mm.
why this reminds me of it, is because in that setting, in Tolkien's Middle Earth, it's like hoarding of gold for its own sake is seen as like the shadow, and the light
Yeah.
is seen as, one working together, community, home, and things like that. But when I ran a game for you guys, and you were all coming out of like 5th edition D&D, people were like, "Where's the treasure? Where's the treasure?" I'm like, "Well, you've killed the goblins because that's the right thing to do. there's no
Yeah.
there's no treasure
You're not doing it for
to get,
a
and
reward as
exactly. And
such.
if there is treasure, it's usually something to tempt your character,
Yeah.
and that's a bad thing to do. So when I heard about this as a concept for this game, I was almost worried that it might be a similar thing where people are like, "Well, the corruption is better because I just need my gold." But ultimately, in this first event anyway, I didn't feel like I actually. So I left most of my money in the bank anyway. I didn't
I
need it.
took most of it out, but I gave almost all of it away.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
which was quite cool.
But anyway, our monstering slot was at 8, so it was
Mhm.
dark. So we had the dark monstering slot.
It's great fun.
It was good fun actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a really good.
Yeah.
It was a great slot actually, because we so basically when it's your time to monster, you head up to the actual crew tents, which are quite obvious. They're like big, like dark scout tents. But we basically all got together. We headed over there. They kitted us out with they had a really good theme where they had this really pale like cyan blue, and they had these white handprints on them, and then the different markings on it. But our lovely friends in
Ceradonia. Yeah.
also had a pale blue kit.
It was a shame because they weren't that. Again, their kit was very similar to ours.
Yeah.
But I think just the shade of blue was just close enough to the blue that the corrupted were wearing.
So we were mucking around and everything. We were like joking around just as a big group, and I was like, "Oh, I am 100% going to dip my hand in some flour and come up behind you," because it's just
Yeah. I think they were saying, weren't they? They're like, I know how like the Imperial Orcs feel at Empire now, because every now and again they were getting hit by friendly fire.
When it came to the end, some of the end fights, they were running in, being like, "Ceradonia blue," and they were like shouting that as they were running in.
But anyway, yeah, we were then given our brief of, because that's the thing, when we were fighting them, it was just like, just kill them. We weren't really
Yeah.
paying attention to what the
what they were saying.
Yeah, what they were saying, what they're doing. But I feel like because we had a big, there was a lot of us, wasn't there? There was, I didn't realize how big our nation was until we went up to Monster and was like, oh, there's a lot of us, and it's dark. So yeah, the Fallen. So some of us were playing, like well-to-do Fallen,
Mm.
and they had the ability to. So there was like the underlings, and basically everybody's goal is to just hoard as much as you can, wealth and whatnot, and land and everything, as much as you can, and
What
hold on
is
to it.
theirs, we take. What is ours, we keep. I
We
think
hold,
we
yeah.
hold. That's
hold,
it. Yeah. What is ours, we hold.
Yeah.
What's
So,
theirs, we
oh,
take.
one cool thing about being at the first event of these things is that there was a lot of the briefs and the bad guys, because I think that was actually come up with during that monstering thing. So I didn't actually hear anyone else chant that apart from us.
I think they were chanting it.
Oh, really?
I just
Okay.
wasn't paying attention.
Yeah,
as such.
maybe not. But yeah, one cool thing is that I heard a lot of chants. So like Valdreath, like especially on the Sunday, we were like, oh well, we need a chant. We need a chant.
Yeah, we need to come up with something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of our friends from Empire was like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, I'd suggest we have something." You know, it was like, "Yeah, we need something," and it's cool that it's not put in the brief; it's for the players to do it. So
Yeah.
I think it was Forge Our Stories, right?
Forge Our Stories. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Forge Our Stories.
Yeah, Forge Our Story, which was cool. But I love those. And I definitely heard Erdreven definitely had like a strong chant as well. They were just going like Erdreven.
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
Right.
yeah. No, I did.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, I love those things that people take the brief and they're like, okay, now it's the players. The brief now belongs to the players. That type of thing I like. So anyway, so we were a large force. It was dark, and we were attacking. We ended up tacking down it was basically the main strip of light from the car park to the center, which is Cyrodinia, is like the main thing. And obviously, because we were the biggest nation, Cyrodinia was close behind us, so
It made sense to
attacking the Cyrodian side obviously made the most sense. So the first attack went really well for us, didn't it?
A little too well for us.
Yeah, we actually we got to the point where we were like almost at the main tents, and we were like, okay, pull it out, pull out a bit. The brief we got, you want the players to have fun, right? It doesn't, even though there's mechanics in this game. I think a lot of us like defaulted to the rule of cool.
We just want to have some fun.
Yeah, so
we don't actually want to kill anyone's character. You just want to go out there and have fun, create those moments, because combat, I know there's a lot of people who kind of split up, RP and combat and almost put them into different categories. I don't think that's true. I think that you can have some incredible RP moments in the middle of combat, and some of my favorite ones, that's where they've derived from. So I think it's quite cool doing that rule of cool, going in, having fun and creating those moments, creating that dialogue, creating something there for them to go off and tell stories of this time where they went up and they struck down the fallen that was threatening their home and everything, and it's cool.
Yeah, we got a bit too far in the first time, and then we backed out. But it was one of those situations where it's just like, as soon as you come and hit me, I'm going down.
Oh,
come and kill me. But people were still quite cagey, weren't they? Again, there's a lot of new LARPers there. There was, and they got kind of caught up in their own tents and things like that. So the problem was that they were backing up against their tents, and we were being told like, don't engage them within the guy ropes or anything like that. Like, just stay.
We kept taking like 3 big steps back to be like, come out to face us. There was a little bit of an issue there where people were coming out and then instantly running back into their ropes. And I was like, I'm like, the ropes are one thing, but the ropes are held in by metal spikes in the ground. And you fall on one of them. I mean,
so they were using the mass repel, i.e. the mass stagger. They kept using that, but it's difficult on the player side because on the skirmish crew side, it's easy because the NPCs like who are orchestrating it can just be like, mass stagger to the players, and the players will just go where they stagger them to. Whereas when they want to get their own forces away from the players, that's a little bit more difficult because they're just like, well, how narratively do I get them away from this area? So it's something they can definitely workshop. So the first attack, we went in, Then we pulled it because we were around like kind of the Portavas side, weren't we?
Mm.
And then we went in for a main attack at like the Cyridonia side. And this was the moment where they were like, okay, like there was like a bucket, wasn't there? They're like, don't go past this fire bucket because
Oh, so I went to Morvalis, yeah.
well, it was more well, we were so big, we were covering Morvalis because remember Morvalis was next to Cyridonia.
We were on the Morvalis side. Yeah, okay.
Oh no,
because
that was the main road.
Yeah, there was a bucket.
So there was a bucket, and they were like, right, we maybe pushed a bit too far last time. We're going to basically stand and like we can't because basically the direction we were attacking, we couldn't go too far because obviously then that was the accessibility area. We couldn't we weren't supposed to be attacking in there. But the problem was, to what I alluded to earlier, is that the players like picked up on this, and so they just made a line behind this bucket, and we were just like, well, we were just like, come on, we're coming to get you, and they're just like this behind their shields, and we're like.
Well, there was like one person, they did a call, and I can't remember the call actually. It was basically they compel you to cut. You have they say this out. It's what you got like on the Sunday, where you say something and the person you're fighting has to like come and fight you. Basically, it draws them to you. So this person did this call and they aimed it right for me. It was really clear. They were looking right at me, aimed it for me, said all the words. And I remember like whispering to. There was luckily a skirmish crew person next to me because I was like, what does that mean? They went, you're compelled to run and fight them. I went, great. Yeah. They're on the other side of the bucket. So I ran over, and as I was running, I kind of like subtly went,
there's an invisible wall.
Step out from the bucket. And luckily, they instantly went, oh, and they stepped out from it. And then I think some people didn't necessarily realize there was a reason they weren't
I'm not
in.
blaming people of cheating. I'm saying that they were picking up that we weren't going forward. So they just like so the players just like lined up. And obviously then there was like this stalemate of like, we were just like, okay, come out.
Really cold as well.
Come out, fight us, hit me. And obviously, we're role playing. There was actually a funny moment where I think it was maybe a newer LARPer. And when they did come out, I was like, finally, they've come out to fight us. So I'm going to sell this. Someone like stabbed me with a polearm. And I think I really sold it because I screamed and went, ah, like that. And then fell backwards. And this player was just like, as they came to advance to like finish me off, this other player on the monstering side was just like, oh no, stop, like that, like it's like tapping. But then before I could be like, hey, I'm role playing, someone came over to me and was just like ran over to me and did like a clear style like what's the spell Regenerate. They were just like full regenerate like that, and just did like a full like paddles like this on me, just like regenerate. And I was like, bah! And I did like this like hop up and then started attacking again because I was like dual wielding.
Oh my God.
It was really funny.
It was really good fun. We had some like good moments there. There was one moment I had to walk away from though, because like you said, I was very much like in my head, I had like 6 hit points, but in my head I was like, you hit me once. I'm going down.
If there's a cool hit,
if it's really cool. If someone does something really cool, whatever, that's gonna take me down. Yeah. But there was somebody, and it literally like, so people were in a line. This was actually earlier. I was on the Cyridonia side actually. People were in a line, and one of their people had been caught on our side, maybe a meter and a half into our line, and they were on the ground and they couldn't get up. I'm not sure what hit they'd taken. Yeah. I think they were on their bleed count, and it was like this sort of thing where clearly we could have just completely killed that player, but like what was the point in that, and then like I kind of did a bit of a like, oh, come and get your fallen sort of thing, and they went nope, and I was like I can't do it, and I walked away around the side and I joined Maz, and Maz went, oh, were you up with that fallen player over there? I couldn't do it, and I was like, I couldn't do it either. I don't want to kill someone's character. I don't know. Maybe they can crawl back. We'll just ignore it.
I think did someone I don't know how many character deaths there were this weekend.
There were definitely character deaths. I don't know how many of them were genuine, like, character deaths, or how many of them.
There's none of them accidental, I think. I don't think none of
I don't think that's what I mean. I don't think any of them were like accidentally, like they've lost their character. I think that a lot of them were kind of like,
oh no, I've died.
Oh yeah, like almost like set up, like I've created this character, I'm probably gonna die soon, or it's a brand new game, I'm getting into this. Oh, I really like the look of Morvalis. I want a character in there. Do you know what? I'm gonna die in an epic way. I think it was more like that, which I think is always more fun for everyone.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
no,
just more
dying
fun.
dying in LARP is one of the best things. Also, again, because it's a new game and not many people have died yet. Because the thing is, there's not really characters like consequence yet. So you got to like forge the story. So after one event, you know, there's not going to be a lot of gravitas to a character death yet.
Yeah.
You know, so it didn't surprise me there wasn't that many character deaths. It feels like a game though that it can be easier to be like, right, this is time to go. I think at Empire it's very difficult because the camp is so safe at Empire. Like you're never going to die. You're basically immortal if you don't go through the Sentinel Gate. And then even then, if you're like, right, I want this character to die, you pretty much have to go a little bit suicidal with your character.
Yeah.
To run out through the Sentinel Gate and charge into the skirmish crew.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like this is more of a game where you can be like, hey, I wanna.
Even though this camp attack, you got a bit more control on your own.
Yeah. Oh, well, literally, there's a mechanic for this, isn't there? So
yeah, there is a mechanic for it. Yeah.
With is it just the vigor skill?
I think it is just the vigor one. Correct. I've only read the vigor one, but yeah, there is an ability that you get
any
given.
Character can have
really?
it. I don't know. I'll have to double check. Put down in the comments if you can remember. But basically, it's called "May the Gods Witness Me," and you can basically you're like invincible for a certain amount of time, but you're going to die basically. So like if you're at 0, you can choose instead of being healed or whatever, or if you can't be healed. Or I don't think you even need to be on 0. I think basically if you like, may the gods witness me, and you're like Sonic with the stars.
Yeah, you get to go like completely like berserk almost for a certain period of time, but you die at the end of it.
And then you die at the end of that period,
which could be that like, final thing,
stand,
that last stand, that like, okay, we're going down here. I'm going to make this count. I know I'm going out, but I'm going to take all of you with me.
But,
really cool.
Yeah. But what I mean by that is that's a way of telling the crew, this is my last.
Yeah,
I'm going to die. This is my last stand.
I know I'm going to die.
Let's do this.
Let's make this really cool.
Yeah. So
yeah. So they're monstering and everything. We ended up heading back, and at this point, I think we kind of sorted ourselves out, and we're like, we ended
the players
up going,
won.
The players won.
Oh yeah, we won and we destroyed Haven and
that was it. Yeah. No, the players won. We did a little bit of back and forth. I think we actually ended up finishing monstering a little bit earlier than planned.
Well, that's the other thing is I don't think many people did the full 2 hours that they were allotted anyway. So it says 2 hours. I think that's a maximum. I think we only did like an hour and a bit, right? An hour, if that, I think.
Yeah, and the last like 20 minutes was standing around chatting with skirmish crew and just like chilling out a little bit at the end stuff. Everyone was like really nice and things.
Yeah,
and we got to see a few friends that we hadn't seen all weekend because they've been in skirmish crew all weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it was quite fun to. There was the cocktail bar. We went to the cocktail bar in Morvalis. That's
what I was about to say. Is we went back before the cocktail bar. We went back to camp and everything. And we were getting ourselves all ready and everything for the evening. And we did actually have an NPC coming into the Valdreath camp and coming over to the Nation Support campfire opposite us.
Yeah, I missed most of this. But I'll tell it from like the Nation Support and then like, Al's point of view. Because apparently like there was a camp going on. I walked over there, this character, a seat. And the thing is, I thought something was weird anyway as I walked over, but this person came down and sat by the fire, and when I walked into the conversation, they were warm with their hands, and their hands were like covered in blood.
Yeah.
Right. And
making a bit of a show of it, weren't they?
Yeah, making a bit of a show. The hands were covered in blood, and we were talking about Haven, and she was like, "Oh yeah, like me and my siblings made Haven." We were like, okay, and then like Al's character was like, "Oh yeah, you're clearly not the hearth, are you?" And they were like, "You have never been more wrong ever." So it was obvious it was an aspect of the hearth, which is the physician, quite clearly, because their get up was obviously like that of a medical physician, and the blood was obviously from healing people, So that was I heard a few kind of stories like that the aspects of the gods were wandering around, and just having small interactions with camps, Because she didn't stay long, did she? She stayed. She had.
Well, I know that because I know that Mark was doing something similar to this about an hour beforehand while we were monstering, because he was in Sardonia while we were monstering.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, because he was like there with like a group of her like friends actually, and literally they were in the middle of cooking steak. A nice little fire set up, so they're in the middle of cooking a steak when we did the attack, and they left Mark Mark's like NPC. I didn't meet this NPC, but they ended up basically being like, "Well, I'll look after this for you."
I'll look after the steak. I'll just keep flipping it. I have no idea how well they want it done.
Hope they come back soon.
Yeah, that was quite funny as well because our friends in Cerrodona, those same friends, they had a priest in their group. Of the Guardian, and they had like an altar or something like that. I get like, I haven't actually read the rules for the priest.
They're going to do it E2 as well.
Oh, really?
So basically, if enough people can help them out with the faith they need for it, then they're going to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can do that because I'll get dedicated and put my faith to that.
Yeah, send to them. That way they can
priest.
do it.
But basically, yeah, they had, so their camp was then, they had an altar at their camp. You went and prayed at it. You got your vigor back. So there was a point where they were at monstering and they weren't even there at all. And we went in and just started just to hang out at theirs. I don't even know if they actually know now that we just hung out at theirs.
Hey guys, so we ate your grapes.
No, we ate some of your grapes. Yeah,
they're really good.
Yeah, they were really good.
We drank your water.
Yeah.
We sat there. We considered wearing some of your things that you just like left. You know, it's weird that you left all your
There
clothes.
was some more Valis people that came over and went, oh yeah, and started talking to us about Cerrodona, and we're just like,
yeah.
We're Valdreath. It's like we're just here for the food and the extra vigor, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
We'll chat to you though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was something else happened the day because we ended up going to the group next time and playing a load of like I played a load of games with that was a lot of fun actually. So
we haven't said this yet. We keep calling nation support. So in character they're called threads. Right, so and they're all like I'm assuming they're. I'm not entirely sure on the rules of them. I'm pretty sure they can regenerate. I think.
Yeah, they're protected in a sense.
Yeah, they are protected. They're not just normal player characters.
So the group there had like a really cool setup. So they had these wooden benches, and on the wooden benches they had painted like game boards on them, and then they had bags of games that you could play on these like checked game boards. And I was just like, that's just like a really good idea for LARP in general to like have that sort of thing set up and everything. Yeah, it took us to the evening, and then like you said, went over to Morvalis and went to the cocktail bar.
Cocktails, yeah. There was
amazing cocktail bar. You need to visit it.
Really, really good. I think that they must have made bank, honestly, because that was again early days of the game. There's not loads of bars and things like that. It's quite funny because there was another player in Valdreath who has a very well established bar in Dawn at Empire, and we were speaking to them, and they were like, maybe I should have just started a bar here too. I was like, yeah, you would have made a lot of in-character coin, you know. So it's still small enough that walking to Morvalis isn't like a big deal, but also, yeah, I mean, we were just there. And it was quite fun because, like you said, a lot of the NPCs had their like down. So if you are an NPC, you do get downtime.
You get an R&R character.
R&R, there we go.
Yeah.
R&R character.
And some of their R&R characters were just brilliant.
Yeah.
Some of you create some
I was exhausted. I honestly, like, I remember being sat around that fire, like, in Morvalis. I was exhausted because I don't think I've done so much fighting in a long time. And I was just like, oh.
We see these big personalities coming in as there are in our characters. I'm like, what are they feeding you?
Yeah. Yeah, and it was fun to go to Morvalis as well because we hadn't even got round to visiting other nations properly. You know what I mean? We kind of just been going around fighting, so it was fun to like visit Morvalis. But yeah, that was Saturday pretty much because we just kind of drank.
Yeah, pretty much. We drank. We drank there until there was no drink left. Basically, we stayed there. We had a good other cocktails though, like so Morvalis. You know, lots of skulls, dead things, and everything. Their cocktails, they had it set up so that the made them look really beautiful. They even gave you like little tiny skull beads on like the end of your cocktail sticks and everything. They were just out.
They put so much effort.
So much effort.
Yeah.
And the stuff they made was incredible. So they had a full menu of what you could have. We were there at the end of the night, so a lot of things they'd ran out of, and a lot of us were like, "Just make us something. This is the spirit." and they came up with some really nice drinks at the end. Yeah, so that like takes us into the Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday.
Where it was quite a cool start to the Sunday, actually.
Yeah. What did we start the Sunday?
Well, start the Sunday. As a nation, we essentially all ended up meeting in Valdreath in this big circle, and a lot of different things happened here. First of all, there was talks about an armory. It basically gave everybody an opportunity to step forward and speak, figure out what do we want as a nation, what do we need, and how do we help one another? How do we fight the corruption together? And this is where the talk of an armory came into it.
Yeah, so we had a badass enchanter at I'm not again yeah, forgive me, put down in the comments if you can remember. So I know in Empire they're like artisans, things like that. I can't remember the people who make magical items in this game, but yeah, we had a really cool enchanter that managed to get, basically was like, this is my pitch. I can make a magical item if I have enough of a certain essence or whatever it was. So he needs so much essence. I can make it super powerful and it'll be used for the nation. So they were like, I can make a shield. Because I think they'd already made a sword. Was it sword or staff?
They made something already. And
they'd already made something.
Yeah.
But they were like, I can make a shield that can be used for the nation. It will have basically it had a multiplier of +4 to your HP, basically. So +4 to whatever your HP was. You could also once per day use the cool was it relentless taunt, something taunt.
It was something like that. I keep in my head. I keep going like I
have the card somewhere. I don't have it here. Yeah. It's somewhere safe. I'll tell you why I have it in a minute. But yeah, this artifact and the enchanter's pitch was basically like, we should have an armory for Valdreath and be like, we have these artifacts, and this artifact is for. And the cool thing about the artifact is that I keep calling it an artifact, the weapon, the magical thing, whatever. It's not bound to it wasn't bound to the character, so literally anybody can pick it up and use it.
Which
if
was
you like.
Really cool. Yeah.
So it's not bound to the character mechanically. So everyone got behind this and was just like, yeah, this, and then we're like, right, well, we can now we can have this idea of being like, we'll have an armory.
Yeah.
You know, in the camp, and all the items in it belong to the nation. So like, you know, once an event, we will give out these, you know, these items, you know, starting with these ones. So they went off and made this shield, didn't they? But obviously I had my, you know what, it was sad because it was my Godric Fizzrep shield, you know, and I was like, this actually fits for this character, you know. So I had my Godric Fizzrep shield with me, which is a real cool shield that I made. But anyway, the enchanter was like, oh yeah, can I use that? I need a Fizzrep to go and make this ribbon.
Yeah.
For this item, this shield, which was going to be called a Wavebreaker.
That was it, yeah, Wavebreaker.
And it was like, this is going to be a symbol of Valdreath, and like wherever Wavebreaker is, you know, in the front of the lines. And I'm like, oh, that's freaking cool. And when they were like, oh yeah, can I use your Fizzrep? And I was like, yeah, you take it. If it's Valdreath, that's fine. And they were like, will you be the first to carry Wavebreaker? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I will. Yeah. I was just like, this is why I came to this event. Magic shield, front of the line. This is this character all over.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. So, and it was up to the, because like you had to go get it obviously made and the ribbon sorted and everything else. And it was like right up, to be honest, and I was like, I don't care if I don't, even if I'm late to the final battle. I don't care that if as long as the shield is made, I don't care that I don't have my Fizzrep right now. You know, I'll be late to it. But yeah, I ended up carrying Wavebreaker. So we kind of knew knew there was a finale, right?
Yeah, there was going to be a finale to this event. We weren't
Yeah.
entirely sure what this was going to be, but we knew there was monster and slots on the Sunday morning.
Mm.
And these slots were for 2 different nations, and we knew that just based on what our nation support was saying, the fact that they were like saying to everybody, get your armor on, get ready.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that in the morning, and you could tell that all the camps were slowly just getting themselves prepared for something.
Yeah. So we mentioned the overarching story previously. What we didn't mention is that so like we had missed going on a skirmish, which was kind of annoying for the scholar
Yeah,
to get one of his fragments back. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think that one wasn't successful.
It wasn't.
Because one of our group went on it and it wasn't successful. I'm not entirely sure how successful it was. But that ended up being the overarching story. So the scholar was going to take all of us to the Menhir, to one of the Menhirs, and we were going to travel to do something for the scholar. I'll say my criticism now of that moment. I didn't know what the hell was going on. A lot of people didn't quite know what was going on or what the objective was. It's a difficult thing because I know that when you've got a small LARP, so this was very Eversley-esque in the fact that they had like a finale. The Sunday is for like your finale, your game finale, which I really fucking love. I know it's not exclusive to Eversley because I think I said this to a couple of people at the event, and apparently this is what they do at like Lorien Trust and whatnot. It doesn't surprise me they do that.
So we've not been.
It's just not. It's just not similar to like Empire doesn't run like that. They don't have like a this is the start and this is the finale. But they treated this game like they do at those ones they run at Eversley, where it's like this is the start, this is the opening scene, this is the closing scene, which I really really like. But at a smaller LARP, it's obviously easier to one disseminate the plot, and two to make sure it's easier to make sure that all your players kind of know what is happening in a game this size. I think it's very difficult for people to be like, wait, what are we doing? Where are we going?
There was
happening?
A little bit of a confusion at the start, actually. Yeah. So basically, Sunday started. There was, first of all, initial some camp attacks and things like that was happening. We pushed that wave out and we recuperated, ready to transport somewhere else. And there was a message that came through that they needed 50 capable fighters ready to go. And this is where the confusion started, because the confusion was like, oh, only 50 people are allowed to go. So we're all like running up to the start, like, yeah, we'll go. And then it was every nation went through. So we're like, oh, maybe that was just miscommunication. This number 50 was just like brought out from nowhere. And in fact, everyone is able to go through. It did come into play a little bit later though. But yeah, so
so basically, because a couple of people came up to me, Empire players that I know, and they were like, wait, what's going on? I'm just like, we're doing a mini Sentinel Gate battle, right? So we're all going in, but because there's only we're all fighting, all the nations are fighting against skirmish crew. There's too many of us versus skirmish crew. So what I think was happening was they was just staggering us, basically. So they were just like 50 at a time.
Actually.
Well, yeah, I think they did the best with what they had, 100%. But obviously, then what got lost was. Let's face it. All you had to do really was fight. You know that's all you. That's all you need to do.
What got lost was the fact that the reason they needed another group is because of the other thing that happened out in the woods.
Things at Empire, lots of people don't know what the hell is going on, and they don't know why they're fighting anyway. So,
like, that's the thing though. Like we're talking about Empire there. At Empire, you can spend, if you're in that part of the game, you can spend over half your game sitting in meetings about battles, about military, about what's going to happen. And you can get on that field and every single plan you've made, every single thing that you've worked towards can completely disappear. So yeah, we didn't know exactly what was happening, but we knew enough. We knew that we had to fight the fallen that was coming at us. We knew we had to protect the Menhir. We knew those two objectives. Everybody knew those two objectives. We didn't necessarily know why 50 people disappeared. We didn't know what counted it as successful or not successful. But again,
apparently we didn't succeed in the end.
Apparently we didn't. We don't always know that. We don't know that information. With the information we did know, we knew what we had to do. Like, we knew we had to fight them. We knew we had to protect something, and we knew we had to get back out of there somehow. And that's what we kind of had to go on. And that was without a single meeting, without a single piece of information getting actually told to us.
I think they're definitely onto something with the way that they're doing it. Because like Empire's after a certain thing. Empire is again a PvP game, so everything that we achieve just fuels more PvP within those institutions in that game. So if we lose against the Druge, that just inspires more roleplay of like, oh, we've lost. What now? What now? Between players, right? With this game, I think the idea is obviously like there is a we won, we lost, we want to win. I think I like the idea of being like, we need to save the scholar. I think obviously if they get better at disseminating that, I think over time as well, when people get a grasp of the game, it'll be easier for us as players to have a grasp of what the narrative is and tell other players. But I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea being like, we need to save the scholar. Let's all do what we can to save the scholar. But I haven't even looked it up because I haven't had a chance to. I'm still not entirely sure what we were doing. I know basically we had to just kill everything.
Yeah.
But the 50 people that disappeared, they went into the woods. We had to obviously save the scholars, fragments or whatever. They went into the woods and then they reappeared, and we were like, apparently, and we heard they failed after the fact. So I'm not.
Yeah, it was a tricky one, that one. And again, like, we'll see what happens with it, but yeah, it's kind of like how because I know that there was a lot of plot getting fed into the game. There's a lot of plot getting fed in. It's just that it didn't spread the same way.
Yeah, we were told. We have friends on the other side. We have lots of friends on the other side, right? And they were like, "There's lots of plot. There's lots of main plot going out with what like the Fallen are doing and all this." But especially with newer LARPers, I mean, even with if people don't want to spread the plot, they're not going to it, and that's a difficult thing when you've got a big player base.
I'm not a new LARPer anymore.
Yeah.
I literally spoke to the scholar. I had a lot of information from the scholar with a full discussion. I didn't repeat any of that to anyone after that point.
Well, we did though. We literally went and we had a full on conversation. I had full on conversation with like the aspect of the warrior, and everyone was listening there about the scholar thing. So that was quite well disseminated. But I think it's because the scholar literally came and spoke to the players. So I think there were other bits of information that were literally hitting the field and getting to the edges of Cyrodinia, and then not like coming as far as Valdreath or vice versa. That's a difficult thing to do unless you. I mean, a lot of us play like TTRPGs and are like DMs and things like that. Like sometimes you can just be like, "Hey, hit the big massive sign. Here's the main story. Here's the hint." You have to make it so obviously clear to players at times.
Again, it's the first event.
Yeah.
At this point, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions, and not many of them are answered at this point. But we now have, like, they are releasing things now on the wiki and everything. Yeah. So we're going to get to know a bit more information. Then going into the next event, be able to actually know the questions to ask and what to follow up on. Well.
Yeah, I guess there's no wrong answer. Like this is the thing with LARP as well. It's about telling a good story, right? It's the same with the like good like TTRPG D&D practices, right? Is that it's not about winning or losing, it's about telling good stories. So we can go, all right, the players didn't succeed, but if that means that now we have to deal with the ramifications, that's just LARP. Like that's just more games. There's no I'm not like, oh yeah, we screwed up, we lost. That's not what I'm worried about. I think it'll get there. I think there's a good I think they've got something good going.
Yeah.
You know, I think
Oh,
that,
yeah,
I think it's
definitely.
almost there. I think it's almost at a point where you can. It's just about upscaling. You know, it's just about upscaling for players, which I'm excited for. But anyway, let's talk about the
Yeah, back to the
actual
battle.
battle
Like
itself,
we
because the
had
battle
like
was
some
crazy.
really cool moments in this battle. So I mean, one of the coolest moments though was when your shield came into play.
All right, yeah. So I had one or two uses of the taunt, right?
Mm,
Which I hadn't. The only time I'd ever seen it is when it was used on you as a
yeah.
monster. So I hadn't seen this the taunt actually used, and I'm like, well, I've got to save it, because basically, if I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm going to taunt this enemy, and it's such a tanky a thing. It's so cool that I got to do it. I'm like, this is the ultimate tank ability. But the time to do it is not when we're winning. The time to do it is when we're up against it. And it's like gauging as well, like, oh yeah, when's this encounter going to end? Because it's like the Sunday, this is going to be the last fight. I want to use my taunt. They were obviously throwing it because they had a lot of players fighting against a smaller number of skirmish crew. What they were doing to balance it was giving them obviously a lot of hit points and a lot of
A lot of abilities,
abilities.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of, like, yeah, you've got like, I don't know, 2 regenerations, 3 mass staggers, and whatever they were doing. You know, so it was obvious, and then they were throwing trolls out at us with ton of hit points. Al had a real cool moment where he like executed the troll.
He executed the troll, yeah. Troll killer.
That was really,
Troll slayer.
yeah, really freaking cool, because that kind of led into the next bit. I did enjoy, because we had we had a lot of new larpers there that were maybe a bit sheepish with like the combat and being like, let's just go for it. So we were out on the front like a lot, weren't we, going down? And again, if you go down, you're giving healers game as well. Like that's
So the bard came back.
the bard. Yeah.
Bard came back to my shoulders like, I'm here again. I don't have my instrument, but I'm backing you. It's like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, so we had wave after wave of enemy going down. Also as well, what I love about like, because I'm role playing with my friends over on like the skirmish crew side as
Yeah.
well. It's a bit of a different dynamic to maybe what I would get in Empire, because I'm just like, you know, that they're doing the fighting with some of the other people. I'm like, well, I know that they're like, they clock us. They're like, I know your face. Let's have a cool role play thing. So they're just like, I'm going to use all my nasty shit on you. Crush, you know, stagger, crush. You're down. I'm like, ah, but it's so fun. Towards the end, they basically, it was quite clear that they had basically been like, so basically Johnny.
Yeah,
right?
it was Johnny.
Right. They'd obviously been like, oh, you've got like 100 hit points and all the calls, you know, to take on, you know, 50 players, you know, and it was at the point where we'd been hit quite hard. So it was just like you, me, and that's the thing. I was like,
It was the three
obviously,
of us.
you know, the skirmish crew were giving everybody moments, and I was just like, okay, cool. It seemed to be just like you, me, and Al and Johnny fighting, and he had like a million hit points.
Yeah.
So
In that moment, it was just the 4 of us there and this fog around us.
Yeah.
That's my memory from this
so I was like,
moment.
oh cool, this is the right moment, let's do it, you know. And so I was like, so I did my taunt. I was like, fight me, after he'd done like 2 regenerations and a load of mass staggers. And I was like, fight me. And as he came running towards me, you know, this fallen, Artoria, you as Artoria, came up behind and just went crush right across his back, and he like fell to the ground. And then we all just like let loose at him, and then you know, Al's character was like, oh yeah, like finish it, brother.
Finish him, brother.
Yeah.
With your big hammer.
Yeah, that was a cool execute moments. Fun roleplay execute moments.
There was a lot of
so
fun roleplay.
Yeah. By the way, new LARPers come to Menhir's Fate. Milk the execute, right? So execute. I don't. You know, I don't even know. Execute. Is it 5 seconds of roleplay? Execute. I think
5 seconds of roleplay, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, and that can be anything. As long as you make it clear you're executing the
Roleplay it,
monster,
yeah.
role play it. You know, like my sort of one is, you know, in the name of the warrior, I execute you here today. You know, and I like do like a big thing like that, because that way you're clearly saying you're executing them, but like I did my whole like in the name of the warrior.
Yeah, that was a tough battle. I remember we were puffed after that one, weren't we? It was.
We were tapped out.
Yeah.
We were, oh my God, I'm so tired. We were so tired after that one.
Yeah.
Well,
I stopped using my staggers because I was like, okay, well, on the Saturday I was like, stagger sucks, for me. So I'm just going to use my heal. I've seen worse. So I can do that like four times basically in one battle. So that literally what I just used, and I used it constantly. Right at the end, so there was a point where I ran up to the top again because they were trying to get us away from the spawn areas as well. So they constantly the NPC crew were like mass stagger to get us the players away from the spawn area, so we weren't just like so that the NPCs could like spawn into us.
a lot of us realized that's what they were doing, because like stagger is 3 steps back. Most of us were running like a good 10-15 steps back. It was obvious. They were like, can we clear this area so they can
And someone
respawn?
exploded, didn't they? Someone exploded.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And we had all the warnings they were going to explode. So they exploded, and it was a mass shatter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, a mass shatter. Oh, I will also say as well, like the weaving as well. So the weaving, there's a chance when you do a weaving, there's a chance that it fails, and it fails like catastrophically. So people were like, if it fails, and there's like so a lot of people had like bags with like different dice in it or something like that.
Some
They
people
were
had
pulling.
like rocks, and they had like 4 of one color and 1 of another. Some people had dice. And
so they pull it and be like, oh, it's failed. And some of them were like catastrophic, weren't they? That they would like, set on fire or something like that, and if you were fire weaving or something like that and it went wrong, you're like, oh no. So yeah, there was some crazy stuff like that going. Sometimes people would they were like trying to do something like heal or something like that, and they would just drop to the ground.
Which I do like that, because it gives that like D&D sort of vibe to it, where everything you do, there is a chance of failure, and there's a chance that a failure could go wrong.
Well, I think it's their way of being like, okay, this is like powerful magic for a LARP. When you're going higher and higher fantasy in a LARP. So if you go higher, higher in power of your magic, and they can do really powerful things, then there has to be like a downside to doing it. It's just like, oh yeah, I can do this awesome thing, but there's a 1 in 4 chance that it just doesn't go off, so that it makes you second guess, oh, do I do this now?
Is it worth doing it? Do I wait? Is this worth the risk? No, it makes sense. Yeah.
So right at the end, but by the tree line that they kind of repelled us through, because we're like running backwards and forwards, because they're spawning in different parts, and because we're like badass defenders on the front line once again. I think we were just reliving our like Godric and Aranel from Empire.
It's been a while since I've been a frontline fighter, and I missed it quite a lot. I mean, I've barely stopped being a frontline fighter,
especially on that scale, because like we do a lot of in the smaller ops we do. Obviously, they're like high combat characters that we usually play. But yeah, it's been a while since we've kind of been running to the front with shields and things like that. But yeah, so we were running backwards and forwards, and then I run up, and then there's a load of corrupted fallen. There's people on the ground.
Oh,
and then,
yeah.
And then there's a load of Cyrodinia there, and I run up, and I'm just like, and the people on the ground are like, help me. So I'm assuming, that split second where you're just like, is there something fishy going on here? So I run up and I'm like, well, there are my allies. And there are people on the floor screaming help to me. And then the enemies stood over them. And I'm like, wait, what's happening? What's happening? And I just turned to the Cyrodians and I'm like, are they Cyrodians on the floor? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, and I just run in.
I was like behind you. You like went running in, and then I realized it was like salmon out on the floor. And I was like, okay.
There's our buddies.
I was like, I'm gonna stand over them. I remember being like, I'm not gonna stand in your arms. Like they're gonna have to physically knock me down to get to you.
So yeah,
and you ran in and carried on fighting, and I could like stood up with them.
I used my last I've seen worse on Sam's character, and then as their character got up, they were like, right, time freeze. So we were then being like teleported back, but it was like a time freeze, and then we were teleported back to Haven, So like our character, obviously we got up, walked back, and and then we were like timed in like back at Haven, but in the position we were.
So
You know?
like, yeah, you were in the position, whatever bleed count you were on, that's the bleed count you're on as you get time back in, and that was quite cool. I
Which
quite
is
like
cool.
that,
It's a
actually,
cool
yeah.
idea. Yeah, it's a cool idea. So we got back. This was the moment we were just like, okay, so the people that were teleported into the wherever they were, but out of character in the woods,
Mm.
apparently they didn't succeed in whatever they were doing, which I
Yeah.
think was protecting something. I think it was supposed to be protecting a Menhir or something. And they were brought back before we were all teleported. 'Cause then we were all teleported back. So yeah, then it was pretty much because by that time we're almost at the end of the event.
Almost.
Almost at the end of the event. So we're like, okay, and obviously we fought really hard. Like we, me and Robyn and Al were just like, oh, where Oh, I will say as well because I know I didn't see it, but I know that Georgia went on about it quite a bit, and the people that did see it said it was awesome.
Yes.
Apparently, the threads, so the national sport in character, the threads, came out to this battle with us. And apparently they had a real cool moment where they all just charged
Yeah, they all
together.
like banded together and
Yeah.
charged ahead as all the threads and just like obliterated what they came across. Obliterate is actually a call. They didn't actually obliterate. I just realized I said that. I went, that's actually a call.
Yeah.
But yeah, they destroyed what they came across. So that was
Yeah.
quite cool.
Yeah.
So
Then
yeah,
we
we
went back and chilled out, and then we had a little little Valdreath adventure,
we
didn't
had
we?
a nice little Valdreath adventure to finish off the event. So yeah, a load of us were able to head off out into the woods to deal with. We weren't exactly sure what we were up against at first.
So an NPC came to Valdreath camp. One of them came up to our camp and was telling us about
I looked after them.
This is one of those moments where I recognize NPC crew, and I was like,
yeah, it's not your NPC.
Yeah, and they're really shaken up, and they're like, they were out in it. So it was a part of Valdreath, basically. That's what you need to know. Like, there's a part of Valdreath that had been taken over by the corruption. And this person had said that their group was out in this area, and apparently there had been stuff growing because the corruption stops things of beauty like flowers and things like that from growing. So this NPC, this character had been like, oh, I've come to Haven and I need help. My group was we were out in this area. I went off picking flowers. I came back and they were all murdered.
And that's what was quite key, was the sort of like flower picking part, like because of what you said, that nothing should be growing anymore. And they actually brought the flowers here, and you like put the flowers like on your belt and everything.
Yeah. So there's another person with some of the flowers as well. So this was the thing. We were just like, oh, Valdreath, like, this we need to go and investigate this, because this is part of our nation. And if the corruption is like seceding away, let's go. And obviously, we have people that something's happened to our people, so let's go and investigate. So yeah, Valdreath went off and did this little quest. We ended up in the woods.
And it was our first time in the woods as well.
This
like,
was
this event,
I'm
which was
glad we
quite
got to
cool.
the woods. Yeah,
it was quite like, yeah. So we like got into the woods, and as we walked in there, we were faced with a scene of a load of people who were dead, and they were scattered around the place. And very quickly we all took our different sort of like stances on this. I went and joined the perimeter and was like, I'm just gonna watch here for whatever attacked them, and I'm gonna stay here.
I just went and stimulated roleplay. So
You went in and decided to.
So there's a red hat right in the
There was a big red button not to push.
Yeah, there's a big red.
Where did you go?
There's a big red. Yeah, there's a big red hat. Almost a red cap, you could call it, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a big red wizard's hat sat there. It's all bloodied and things like that. And as if you went near the hat, you didn't feel yourself, and you felt extremely angry and aggressive. If you were in the vicinity of this hat. So I kind of went near it and was like, oh, I don't feel right, and we had a few like crosswords with a few people. And there was a few backwards and forwards. Some people checked the bodies. There was nothing, there was no signs of life on the bodies, but there was also no. Was it like animalistic or something like that? That was weird about it.
I think what we happened that whatever killed them, it kind of came suddenly,
So
and
yeah,
it was a surprise
yeah, it was a
basically.
surprise.
Whatever it was a surprise, and a group of us went around and we because there was a lot of arguing back and forth, and a group of us was like, you know, like we have our fallen here, you know, like we must respect them, so we like moved them into more comfortable positions because our wonderful skirmish crew were like lying in the most uncomfortable positions.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, I feel like we ended up just like, I just wanted to facilitate it. But this is where I feel like I really kind of got into my character, your character, Al's character, kind of found our places a little bit within our like order. I just found out that I'm just like the more like, because I wanted to be like, let's put it on, let's do something with it, let's poke it a little bit. You know, I was like, try it. There was this player that was like, oh, someone put it on basically and see what happens. You know, because maybe we could use it. You know, for the good of Valdreath. You know, and the person who suggested, I was like, yeah, go put it on. You know, just
Go do it then. Do it.
They put it on. They had this role play effect on them, and it was quite obvious that they weren't going to take it off. I kind of wanted to fight. So I was like, I hope someone like just goes crazy.
I heard you saying, well, I'll just put it on. And at that moment, I was like, I'm going to move further down this hill that I'm guarding because I'll fight you. I will fight you.
Because I didn't want, like, I wanted to put it on, but obviously it didn't make sense for my character to put it on. But also, I was like, if it comes down to the point where like, oh, someone needs to be brave enough to do it, I was going to do it.
Yeah, you needed that right line.
I would have fought you.
Yeah. I would have fought you too. I mean, I was like, oh, finally, come on, put on the hat.
Yeah, put on the hat.
Put on the hat. We'll have a fun fight.
And then Al's character's like, what are we doing? You know, this is all nonsense, and went like proper dad on us, didn't he? It was like, come on, we need to bury our dead. And we need to, you know, treat the dead with respect, and we need to, you know, do something with this hat, either destroy it or take it back and make a decision.
Yes, Dad.
Yes, Dad.
We want to fight. We want to fight on this non-fighting skirmish.
I just wanted to have fun, and then people go, "How are we going to hit the hat?" And I'm just like, "Come on, it's just a hat. Just hit it. Just hit that.
It's a hat.
It's a hat. Just hit it."
The worst is going to happen.
Yeah. So we
must obliterate.
Yeah. Well, we ended up, I think magically, mechanically, we got rid of the enchantment on the hat.
We hammered the hat to a pulp.
We hammered the hat, and then it just became a hat.
We still have the hat.
Yeah. So that is a lingering mystery, and then that took us up to timeout. Literally, we timed out.
We timed out there and then with the mystery of the red caps, and the red cap. Cap. I wonder what's going to happen with the red cap. Perhaps at E2 we might find out some more about this.
I hope so. I hope so.
I would like to as well, because it was really great. There was definitely that. I love that sort of like mystery in the end of it. Be like, wait a minute, what the hell's happening here? You know, there was a load of unanswered questions, and then stop. Yeah. So what was happening? Yeah.
So so that the national supports are involved in the plot writing for nations. I mean, one thing I do like about this game is they do have. I think it's a lot. Obviously, it's a lot of balls to juggle for the game runners, but when they get it right, I think it's going to be something really special, because you have you have nation NPCs that are creating game into nation. Then you've got the guilds, and then you've got the overarching plot and story as well. So that all combined together, I think is going to make a really good LARP. I mean that's Menhir's fate.
Yeah. So while we've been recording this, literally, it's currently Saturday evening, and we're recording this, and things have been getting released. And something has just been released and shared into our lovely little group, and it links to everything we've been talking about so far. So, Oliver, would you like to read out what has been shared that has, impacted our little group?
This is on the Menhir's Fate wiki under Bankers Guild builds. 12. Al has a habit of making characters that their names are spelt that you can never ever pronounce them. So just call them 12. So we have where monsters are cradled and legends begin. Quotes, the hedge bites all except the eggs it hides. Hidden deep within the twisting, hostile embrace of the hedge, the gift of the hedge is structured, lashed together from living thorns and hardened roots. Its outer form is nearly indistinguishable from the wild tangle around it, save for the faint pulse of warmth of a low, earthy hum that surrounds its presence. Within, the space softens, a chamber of natural hollows and woven alcoves, each holding a carefully tended dragon egg, roughly 2 feet tall and glowing faintly in the dark. Only a rare few egg nurses, stoic, thorn-bitten devotees, know the paths well enough to bring these eggs from the deeper wilds of Valdreath. Their role is to tend the nests, rotate the eggs to mimic a dragon's turn, and ward off the creeping things drawn by the heat and magic. The hedge may be cruel and wild, but here, in the stranger's cradle, the dragons of legend begin their first dreams. So that's Al's build. That's freaking cool. So it has the cost of construction. So this is the completed build. So we completed the nesting area for the dragons.
And
this was a nation effort, right?
Well, also like how this came about, like we did briefly touch on the fact that we all got together as a nation and we formed this big circle. Within this time, we as a nation, people spoke about the builds that they were doing, and Al did actually speak about this build. And as he spoke about it, one by one, people came forward and emptied their coin purses.
Like dragons.
Yeah, everyone heard dragons, and like he funded it so quickly. Like it was a case of just like everyone went yes. And we at that moment decided that Valdreath should have this like community pot to help with all builds, and everybody in the nation donated whatever they could. And some people made like a public show of it to be like, I'm going to walk up and I'm going to empty everything I've got right into your hand publicly so that everyone else sees this is how we do this. And very quickly, everyone followed suit, which I just think is really wonderful. It's creating this cool role.
Well, yeah. Also, as well. So, if people are interested in coming to, also you don't have to be part of Valdreath to donate. So, if you want, Dragon Riders can.
This podcast is sponsored by Dragon Riders.
Yeah, I mean, it's so yeah, like we have the nesting building. We need 2 other buildings. We need a training facility and then an armory, basically. So the training facility is they're both still being funded. The training facility has to be funded first. But remember, so obviously this can be I'm assuming this is going to be part of the game because when these dragons hatch, they're going to need trained. So if we don't have the training facility in place before they hatch, then we might just have dragons running Valdreath in the hedge. That might cause plot, and you might want that to happen, you might not. But obviously, that then gives us a little bit of a time limit of like, let's get the training facility funded. So when these dragons hatch, and there is a plan for feeding them. There is a plan. So it's if you are going to come to Menhir's Fate, please come and roleplay with us. Talk to us about dragons.
Let's make sure these dragons, have the best names, the best food.
We're not
the best upbringing.
We're not doing dragon adoption.
Would you like to sponsor a dragon?
Yeah, and people are already, even though it's like real grassroots, it's already a little bit like a Kickstarter. It's like, if I donate this much, what can I?
We'll send you a picture of your dragon and what stage of their training they're in. How many trainers they've devoured.
Awesome. I mean, this is awesome. It's crazy, but it's awesome. This is what
it's about our characters end up looking like How to Train Your Dragon characters.
We totally haven't attempted to make House Targaryen in this world. By the way, totally not what we're doing at all. But no, this is what I've loved about this game. It's because it's unique for a Fest LARP. Again, I haven't been to the other two. I've spent a lot. I mean, I've done 3 years of Empire, but it's bits like that that make this game unique, and I really fucking enjoyed Menhir's Fate.
So an idea of how much we enjoyed it. We started this year being like, okay, we could do maybe E1 and maybe E3. We're going to struggle to do the other two LARPs due to time, work, money, and so on. We've done one of them. Yeah, we're doing E2.
Yeah,
we're making it work.
Yeah,
because we enjoyed it that much that we're going to make it work. So we're going to go to E2.
Yeah.
We very quickly end up being like,
yeah, I think they've got something. Yeah, they've got something here, and I tell you what, like, you know, I know a lot of you are my friends who were involved in running this, and honestly, like, putting on a Fest LARP is no small feat. So, you know, yes, there are things you can work on, but it'd be surprising if there wasn't at all. But you know, it's not a trivial. Oh, I'm just going to run a LARP. Even running a LARP for like 50 people is a massive undertaking. So it's no frivolous thing being like, oh, you know, I've got some money and some time. I'm just going to run a Fest LARP like that. It's no, you know, no matter how, whether it's your jam, whether it's your not, whether you enjoyed it or not. I mean, it's no joke to run something like this, you know.
Especially something that attracts a lot of brand new, not just, obviously we're all brand new to the game, but like brand new LARPers, like a lot. And from what I heard, everybody had a lot of fun. Everyone really enjoyed it. There's some things that they're changing for E2, but they're small things really in comparison to like what could have happened. Like everything went really well. So we're going to E2. We're excited for E2. We're definitely doing E3. And I mean, I've said I really can't do E4 because of work, but maybe we just turn up on the Saturday. Maybe we miss the Friday and we can do Saturday, Sunday. That could be a thing, right?
We'll see what happens. But we are going.
We are probably going to turn up at some point.
Anyway.
There's no we're going to sit here for the weekend and be like, we could just jump in the car and head there now.
Yeah. Right, let's wrap up this podcast. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. For new listeners as well, thank you for joining us. Especially, I know a few of you have new LARPers that came to Menhir's Fate for the first time that have joined to Having to Roll. Please feel free to go look at our back catalogue. If you are new here, here's some of our stories from Empire LARP, some of the LARPs we've done, Eversley and other Empire player events and other LARPs as well. Click subscribe and like. Make sure you comment down below. If you came to Menhir's Fate, if you're thinking about coming to Menhir's Fate, let us know in the comments. Leave us the stars if you're listening on an audio platform. Go check out the Patreon as well if you so wish. And with that, we'll say we love you very much and stay safe. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
See you later.